We're going to dab a little bit into Romans chapter 12. And we're going to jump around the sacrifice, the living sacrifice. We're going to go into that a little bit. Being not conformed to this world. We're going to go into that a little bit. The humble spirit that you must have in this truth, right? Humility is important. We're going to go into that, as well as the love of brethren, right? The love of brethren. So we're going to go into those things briefly in a few things, but we're going to get to it, all right? Romans 15:4. Let's go there.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4.
All right.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning.
Right. So this is plain as day. The things that's written aforetime, we already know is written for our learning. It's written for our learning. It's a purpose for reading the Bible. You can learn something from it, right? Read on.
That we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures,
us having patience and comfort of the scriptures, will what?
Might have hope.
We might have hope. And the hope is that we inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's the hope. That my brothers that's on this call, my brothers that hear this, our brothers inherit the kingdom of heaven. That's the hope. And if you got the same hope I got, then we on one accord right now. But we got to move like that. We got to have that same mindset going through this. We have to understand what the scripture says and take heed to it, all right? Finish it out. Is that it? Okay, all praises. Hey, so let's jump. Let's go. Let's go to Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. Romans chapter 12 and verse 1.
The book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 1.
Come on.
I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that ye present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service.
Right. So you have to, it says you have to present your body as a living sacrifice. And this is important. We must understand this. Remember, the scriptures tell us it's for our learning. This is going to build your patience. You're going to increase when you follow the steps, right? So it says present, meaning we have to show forth our body as what did it say? A living sacrifice, right? So we're going to jump into that a little bit. And this is one of the things too. And all praises, man. I want to give a shout out. You know, we don't shout out. I just got to give a shout out to Captain Immanuel, because at the end of the day, man, if it wasn't for the spirit he got on him, I know I could be drained. I could be pulled back, right? He's many times from when I was sick, many occasions, man, and many other moments. But the spirit, the Most High God, you know what I'm saying? Christ is on him, as well as our leadership, the edification from the deacons that we get when we visit the deacons in the small settings, the large settings, whatever, the bishops, all of the above. It's important. But as of lately, we've been hearing, and I've mentioned it in many cases, the structure, what I call it, the atmosphere that we're gonna have as far as making sure we correct and to help build brothers. And we got to take this truth to the next level, right? Just like our leadership doing, we got to get on the same thing, because he said right here, read it again. It says what?
Romans chapter 12 and verse 1. I beseech you, therefore, brethren.
So he's talking to his brethren. This is men he's talking to. We men together, we brothers. This ain't just us individually. This is us together. And when we come, we got to understand we present our bodies as a living sacrifice, right? So before I jump crazy into it, let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. 2 Timothy 2 and 15.
2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15. Study to show thyself approved unto God.
Right. So one of the things we have to do is show ourselves approved unto God by studying. That's how we present ourselves as well, giving our bodies a living sacrifice, meaning we don't care if we get sleep. Meaning you studying to be approved of God, but to help your people. It's for your people. So sometimes you got to lose sleep. Sometimes you're going to be tired, exhausted, but it's for the betterment of your people. And it's to prove yourself worthy. Go ahead.
A workman that needed not to be ashamed.
So there's no shame for that. Don't worry about the sleep. Don't worry about what you call it? Sometimes you get in those moments where you drained from reading so much or whatever the case. It shouldn't be like that, but the carnal body, the drawing of whatever around us, the wives, the kids, the messages on the phone, whatever the case that distracts us, it pulls us from the truth. But don't have that mindset. This is important to study. Go ahead.
Rightly dividing the word of truth.
Come on.
But shun profane and vain babbling.
Read that again. I think I skipped something. Read it again.
Yes, sir. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 15.
Read.
Study to show thyself approved unto God.
That's the one thing I wanted. Approved unto God. So that reasonable service that we read, go back. That's our reasonable service and acceptable unto God. One of those things is us studying, giving up the time of BS, right? Or the things of this world to be able to study, to present yourselves to God. That's how you present yourself to God. You coming to him. You going to him. Other than that, you sitting back. He don't know you. Who are you? Who raised you? We got to understand that. We have to examine these things, right? So let's jump. Let's go to Maccabees. Let's go to Maccabees. All right. Let's go to Maccabees. First Maccabees 2 and 50.
First Maccabees chapter 2.
I'm sorry, hold that. Let's go to Sirach 2 first. Because when we come to serve the Lord, we already understand these things. This is not rocket science, right? This is not hard to be understood. But what happens is we get so caught up in the next topic that I'm coming into, the things of the world, we forget that this has to play out this way. You're going to go through some things. That's your reasonable service. So read this.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 2 and verse 1.
Come on.
My son, if thou come to serve the Lord.
If you come to serve the Lord.
Prepare thy soul for temptation.
Prepare your soul for temptation. Prepare your soul for temptation. You come to serve the Lord, you're going to go through some things. It's not going to be a smooth sailing. Listen, Paul didn't have a smooth sailing. He literally was shipwrecked. To serve the Lord, he was shipwrecked. He was stoned. He was beat. He was drunk. Listen, many of the apostles died to serve the Lord. And guess what that was? Their reasonable service. They understood when I come to serve the Lord, I got to prepare my soul. I got to die daily, Paul said. I got to fight the good fight. That's what we have to do. We must understand that. All right, read on.
Verse 2. Set thy heart aright and constantly endure.
We must set our minds aright. All right, how you do that? By seeking the Lord. How? Going to the scriptures, getting around the leadership, getting built, right? Asking questions, right? Don't get too distracted. Don't let the world drift you away. It happens. It can happen. But guess what? You got to reel yourself back in. You got to reel yourself back in. So read it again.
Set thy heart aright and constantly endure.
Constantly endure. Because you're going to go through trials. It's your reasonable service. That's how you present yourself to God. You're going to go through some things because you want to live forever. You want that hope at the end. You want to reign. You want to be a king on this, a God on earth or on your own planet. You want to be a God. But guess what? You got to follow the necessary steps. You got to go through the trials. It's your reasonable service. Go ahead.
And make not haste in time of trouble.
Come on, get to the point. Go ahead.
Cleave unto him and depart not away.
Cleave to God and depart not away. Go ahead.
That thou mayest be increased at thy last end.
You're going to get the increase at your last end. Read on.
Whatsoever is brought upon thee, take cheerfully.
Read.
And be patient when thou art changed to a lower state.
Come on.
For gold is tried in the fire.
Gold is tried in the fire. Go ahead.
And acceptable men in the furnace of adversity.
And acceptable men. I want to be acceptable to God. I want to have that's our reasonable service. Meaning what? Some of us going to die in this truth. And you can't be afraid. You can't have fear. Give me that fear. You can't have fear in Timothy. This the understanding we got to have. No fear. We come to serve God, brethren, we come to serve the Lord. Prepare yourselves. You're going to go through stuff. Don't slack from God, though. Don't slack from the men he put around you to help build you. Though it may happen, get your mind right. Get the correction that's needed so you can get built, so you can endure. And that's what I want for everyone on this call. For all my brothers and sisters that may hear this or may whatever, I want us to live forever. Read what you got.
2 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 7.
Come on.
For God hath not given us the spirit of fear.
God did not give us the spirit of fear. He didn't. So what? At the end of the day, you got to understand. He already said, prepare yourself. So he already let you know something's going to happen. You're going to go through some things. And when you go through it, don't be afraid. Even if it's unto death, don't fear. We have to understand that, brethren. We have to. And how we do that? By being around each other, building ourselves together, stand together. Because by yourself is lonely as hell by yourself. But when you got your brothers around you, when y'all moving together, y'all growing together, that's a whole different feel. Watch this. This is what I'll prove it. Go to Psalms 133. It's been a minute since I heard this scripture. But this is true right here. 133.
Psalm chapter 133 and verse 1.
Come on.
Behold how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity.
For brethren to dwell together in unity. That's a beautiful thing. That's more precious than what? Read on.
It is like the precious ointment upon the head.
Go ahead.
That run down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard.
Right. That's some precious. That's more precious than that, or like precious into the oil that ran, the ointment that ran down Aaron's beard. We got to see that unity of brethren, like it says in Sirach. That's a beautiful thing unto the Lord and to man, right? We have to understand this thing. So you ain't got to fight yourself. Just prepare yourself, though. All right. Let's go back. Romans. No, I'm sorry. Go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2. 1 Maccabees chapter 2. And read verse 50. Just like I just read in Sirach, where we read that gold is tried, right? Meaning some of us going to go through fire, meaning we're going to die. Some of us going to die. But it's okay if you in Christ. If you die in Christ, it's okay. But if you stray away, 2/3 to you. You couldn't endure. You didn't take the proper preparations, meaning you didn't build your spirit. You didn't study to become closer to God to prove that you're worthy. You didn't get around the brothers enough. You didn't push this truth enough. You got to see that. Go ahead.
1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 50. Now therefore, my sons, be ye zealous for the law.
We have to be zealous for the law. Go ahead.
And give your lives for the covenant of your fathers.
At some point, we're gonna get into where we have to give our lives for the covenant, for the laws of God. We're gonna give our lives. Some of us are gonna die, but that's your reasonable service. That's a beautiful thing. That's you giving your body as a living sacrifice, right? All right, let's continue. Let's go to Sirach 35 and 1. Sirach chapter 35 and verse 1.
Ecclesiasticus chapter 35 and verse 1.
Come on.
He that keepeth the law bringeth offerings enough.
You offering up your body by you keeping the commandments. You sacrificing the things of the world that's so pleasant and feel good for applying the laws of God, the things that's necessary for us to live forever. Go ahead.
He that taketh heed to the commandment offereth a peace offering.
He that taketh heed to the commandment offer a peace offering. All right, drop that. Matthew 16, verse 24. This is that reasonable service. This is that living sacrifice, giving our bodies up, right?
Matthew chapter 16, verse 24.
Come on.
Then Jesus said unto his disciples, if any man will come after me, let him deny himself.
This is what we must understand. You come to serve the Lord, like we say, prepare your soul for temptation. You got to understand you have to deny yourself. The things that's so pleasing unto you of the flesh, deny it. Go ahead.
And take up his cross and follow me.
You got to be willing to die for this. You got to stop everything you're doing and follow Christ. Be willing to die for this. Some of us don't understand that. Some of us say we are, but our actions is not. Right? Meaning our habits haven't changed to prove that we're worthy or acceptable will of God. We haven't proved that in our actions. And we got to examine that thing. We really have to examine it. All right? Let's continue. Go back to Romans. Was that it? Yeah, I think that was it. Romans chapter 12, verse 2.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 2.
Come on.
And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind.
It says, be not conformed to this world. We can't be conformed to this world. And a lot of times we do. A lot of the times the things are so pleasing to us, we run to it. Well, man, I got to make so much money. Some of us love of money. Give me that. 1 Timothy 6. This is some of us right here. We cleave to the world. We follow the things of the world. And we don't understand what it is. Read that.
1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 10.
Come on.
For the love of money is the root of all evil.
Read.
Which while some
jump to verse 9.
Verse 9. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare.
Some of them are seeking the riches. They're going to fall into temptations and snares. Read.
And into many foolish and hurtful lusts.
That's you brothers that won't stop working so much. What you call it? Them brothers that, if a man don't work, a man don't eat, brothers. Like, come on, take it easy. Bro, this truth has to go first. A lot of y'all, you good at home. You won't even have a house note. Some of you ain't got a house note. You ain't got car notes. You own your old cars. It may be old, but you own them. But you working all the damn time. For what? What are you doing? Read on.
Which drown men in destruction and perdition.
Read. For
the love of money is the root of all evil.
Well, if you loving that money, that's evil right there. That's the evil thing. That's a way into idolatry, where you won't give it up. Where it's gonna come to a point where it's where the men at, where your brothers at. I give you $100,000. These last days, I give you $100,000. Where your brothers at? You gonna give them up for $100,000? Some of y'all you don't know that spirit gonna come up on you. Go ahead.
Which while some coveted after, they have erred from the faith.
They coveted after these things. Now that's your God. You've made that your God because you conform to the things of the world. It's so pleasing. I gotta have the next best thing. Oh, the J's that cost $2,000 or whatever you be like, whatever you like, your fetish. A lot of us conform to the world. Go ahead.
And pierce themselves through with many sorrows.
You pierce yourselves. You destroying yourself. You have to examine that. Is that it? All right, jump back. We have to see this. Go to 1 John, actually, chapter 2 and verse 15. Being not conformed to this world.
1 John chapter 2, verse 15.
Come on.
Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
You have to see that. Don't love the world. Remember, you got to be willing to give your body up as a reasonable, a living sacrifice, which is your reasonable service. You got to be willing to die for this truth, for your brethren. But if you're worried about the stuff in the world, the things of the world, or how people perceive you in the world, then this ain't for you. And it's time for you to get off the train, bruh. You're going to have to jump off. It ain't stopping, so it's going to hurt on your way out. It's going to hurt. You got to examine this. Read it again.
The love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him.
The love of the Father is not in you. Watch this. Let's go to Luke chapter 16. Luke chapter 16. And let's read verse 13.
Luke chapter 16, verse 13.
Uh-huh.
No servant can serve two masters.
Listen, we are servants. We are servants. And guess what? We can't serve two masters. Is that it? Go ahead.
For either he will hate the one and love the other.
Either you will hate one and you'll love the other. That's the ones that conform to the world. Well, I really got to have this. I really need this. I really want this. Or people know me like this, so I got to keep this face. Or whatever the case, whatever your wicked excuse may be. You're going to love one, but you're going to hate God. You're going to hate your brothers. You're going to hate the truth. Go ahead.
Or else he will hold to the one and despise the other.
You're going to hold to one or you're going to despise the other. If anything, you're supposed to hate the world, the things that's in the world. Despise evil. Eschew evil like our forefathers did. That's the mindset we have to have. A lot of us, we want the stuff of the world. The pleasures of the world is so enticing. It's beautiful. It looks good, but it's not good for you. It's not beneficial. All right? So we got to examine that. Let's go. Let's go to Romans 12 again. Don't be conformed to this world. You're either going to serve God or you're going to serve the world. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 2. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God.
That thing that's going to transform you is the laws of God. It's going to change your mind from a state that it was or thoughts that you may have had to making you right. Watch this. Let's go to 2nd Esdras. We need our minds transformed. And these are the steps we have to follow. Don't be conformed to this world, but transform your mind. Convert yourselves, all right? 14:34.
2nd Esdras chapter 14, verse 34. Therefore, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding.
Your own thoughts, subdue it. Go ahead.
And reform your hearts.
And reform your hearts. That's you cleansing your mind with the laws of God. You changing your spirit. You being renewed. Go ahead.
Ye shall be kept alive.
You will be kept alive. I don't know about you, but that's what I want. I want to be kept alive. So the things of the world, I don't want. I'm sacrificing my body for a reason so I can live forever. Because guess what? This flesh going to die. It's nothing. It's nothing. But your spirit, it goes somewhere. Whether it goes to burn in a lake of fire forever when Christ returns, or it goes and rises with Christ to fight the enemies. What side you want to be on? You have to examine that. That's stuff that we have to constantly examine. All right. And this is the perfect will of God. This is the will of God for us to follow his ways so we can inherit the kingdom. That's the mercy he's showing on us. All the wickedness we've done. We have to see this. All right. Let's go to Romans 12 again. That spirit. So it's a spirit we got to have. Yeah, verse 3.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think.
So watch this. It says to the grace, right? So let's get grace first. Because what happens is the laws is a benefit to it. And certain laws that allow you to deal with your brothers a certain way, right? And it's all this is to teach us something. So let's read this.
Titus chapter 2 verse 11. For the grace of God that bringeth salvation hath appeared to all men.
Go ahead.
Teaching us that denying ungodliness and worldly lust, we should live soberly.
So it's telling us to deny the world, the worldly lust of things in the world, right? This thing teaches us good things. It's a benefit to following God laws. Having that grace, right? It's a benefit. But a lot of us run from it. A lot of us will get caught in our ways and we forget it. All right, go back. Go back, Romans 12. Go ahead.
Romans chapter 12, verse 3. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think.
So a spirit that we have to have is we have to practice humility, being humble, a meek spirit. That's something we have to practice. What happens is, what is that proverb? Go to, I think it's Sirach 10. Pride. Let's see what pride is. You have to have a meek spirit. You know, I want Sirach 10, 12, I think. Yep.
Sirach chapter 10 and verse 12.
Read.
The beginning of pride is when one departeth from God.
Guess what? When you got pride in you, when you puff yourself up, guess what? That's the beginning of you departing from God. That's some wicked stuff right there. You, at some point in your mind, it has switched to where you thought you did it. You made you. I'm a self-made man. I'm a self-made. You know how the millionaires say, I'm a self-made millionaire, meanwhile, they got customers. How's that? You're not self-made. You're not. You didn't get in the truth by yourself, as far as by way of you saying, hey, I feel like I need to go to the truth now. No. You didn't learn the words. You didn't learn this by yourself. No. So we all got to have a humble route. We see our leadership being humble. We see Moses was humble. All the prophets aforetime, our leaders, our elders, our forefathers roll with a humble spirit. But a lot of us, we get pride get in there. Pride to get in there. And that's where you'll get what we're going to read about here pretty soon. That's where you'll get the separation of brothers, the love, when you got that pride. Read on.
And his heart is turned away from his maker.
And you turned away from God, the one that made you. Is that it? No, keep going.
Verse 13. For pride is the beginning of sin.
Pride is the beginning of sin.
And he that hath it shall pour out abomination.
You're going to pour out abomination if you got pride. Now it's just sin coming out of you. Now it's like, damn, brother moving weird. Brother acting weird. Now the brother ain't showing up. Now all kind of stuff. Now you see brother, like in many cases we've seen recently where brothers didn't want to get counsel. I don't know what was wrong with them, but then they go and commit fornication. Now abomination's coming out of them because they fall into sin because they didn't want any help. They thought they were good, that good. Or whatever came up. Many cases, right? Is that it?
And therefore the Lord brought upon them strange calamities and overthrew them utterly.
This is what happens when pride is in the midst of you. You won't see it till it happens, till it come. And now you so damn prideful. It like you it's unbelief. Like it's somebody else's fault. No, it's IUIC fault now. They did it. Oh no, it's the brother over there. That's not the case. We have to see this. But what happens is you think yourself high, you high of yourself, you puffed up, you got pride in you. Eventually you're gonna see yourself fall. You have to examine that. All right, go back. Actually, go to Matthew 5. Matthew chapter 5, verse 5. Spirit we have to roll in.
Matthew chapter 5 and verse 5. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth.
This is what we must understand. Listen, the kings and priests that apply the laws of God, and with Christ's return, they're going to inherit the earth. Those are the ones that was meek, that had the meek spirit. Not the brothers that's prideful, not the brothers that don't want assistance, won't get help. No, not that spirit. The brothers that still cleaving to the things of the world. The brothers not willing to give their bodies up as a living sacrifice. No, them spirits, nah. You haven't humbled yourself. You think you got it. You think you good enough to get it yourself. That's not the case. Is that it? All right, go. Psalms 147 and verse 6. We have to see this, Israel. Go ahead.
Psalm chapter 147 and verse 6. The Lord lifted up the meek. He casteth the wicked down to the ground.
He said, read it again.
The Lord lifted up the meek.
The Lord lifts up the meek. He lifts up the meek. Those that humbled themselves to the word of God, right? Getting understanding from the leadership. Taking the rebukes and correction to get yourself right. Getting the correction that's needed. Humbling yourself, right? Taking the pride away. Those the Lord lifts up. Read it again.
The Lord lifted up the meek.
Uh-huh.
He casteth the wicked down to the ground.
That's that prideful. He casts them down. I don't know about you. I don't want that for me. So this is self-examination. This is stuff we have to acknowledge. We have to understand this. It's plain as day. We just have to manifest it in our lives. Practice them having a humble spirit, humility, meekness. That's what we have to have. Matthew 23. Chapter 23 and verse 12.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, and he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
That's that cast it to the ground. Those that exalt themselves, they gonna be abased. Hold this. Just say something like that. Let's go to Sirach. I think it's 6 and 2.
Sirach chapter 6 and verse 2. Extol not thyself in the counsel of thine own heart.
Yeah, don't lift yourself up. Don't exalt yourself. That's the wrong spirit to have. You can't promote yourself. You can't. At the end of the day, you didn't do nothing yourself. It was of the will of God at the end of the day. And we have to understand this, especially us in this truth. We see that in the world already. Us in this truth, we have to practice it even more. Like we had a meeting. Remember the other day we had the meeting with the pastor. And the pastor was really prideful. This my community. What you gonna bring to my community? Evil, bro. Evil. Script. Hey, you better humble yourself. You gotta be humble. What one day Kendrick Lamar had that song? Be humble. You gotta practice it. Read that again in Matthew 23.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 12. And whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased. And he that humble
you exalt yourself, you're gonna be abased. Go ahead.
And he that shall humble himself shall be exalted.
But those that are humble, they're gonna be exalted. And that humbling means we have to practice what we preach. We have to take heed to what the leadership bring out. Because we don't know. Watch this. Go to Hebrews chapter 5. This goes back to that living sacrifice. You studying, right? You getting in the scriptures, losing sleep, losing time with your wife. You ain't got to be with your wife all the damn time. You ain't got a whole hug on her, lay in the bed all the time. Getting puppy love. I don't know, whatever. Read that. Yeah.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12. For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of God.
Only the humble would understand that and go to the leaders to get taught. The meek spirits. They would get that. They will understand, okay, this is the way I'm going to grow. It's not me just doing it my damn self. That's what we have to see. That's what we have to do. We have to examine. It's self-examination. This is how we're going to build our spirits. This is what we need. Right? And understanding we can't do it ourselves, brothers. That's that unity we need. We can't do this ourselves. So we got to get around the brothers. Got to get around the leaders. Let's go back. Romans. No, Proverbs 16. 16 and verse 19.
Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 19. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
You got to understand this. And this is something interesting here, because in the last days there's gonna be traders going crazy, right? And they're gonna, hey, the brother live over here, man. I know where he at. Let me get some of that spoil you got. God just said that it's better to be with the humble. Though the Israelites, your brothers, your sisters in this truth that's keeping the commandments, than to give up your brother in the future, or to go be prideful, or to take the promotions from your boss that's going to make you stray away from the truth, or whatever the case, whatever. Read it again.
Proverbs chapter 16, verse 19. Better it is to be of an humble spirit with the lowly than to divide the spoil with the proud.
Right. We have to see this. We have to see this. All right. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10. So having that humble spirit, and this is what we got to have too, to love the brethren. We got to understand this. All right. To love the brethren.
1 Corinthians chapter 1 and verse 10. Now I beseech you, brethren, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that ye all speak the same thing.
That's one process that we have to follow. A step we have to follow, that we all speak the same thing. Read on.
And that there be no divisions among you.
No divisions amongst us. No divisions. We have to speak the same thing. The same thing. We got to have the same mind. We got to move the same way. One mind, one spirit. That's what we got to have. But go to Titus. Some of us have had this, though. Titus chapter 3. We supposed to have the same mind, same spirit, one accord, no division. But secretly, somebody got that mindset. Verse 3.
Titus chapter 3 and verse 3. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice and
this
envy.
Happens right here. This happens. It's still happening. We see this in many cases. We seen it this year. Go ahead.
And envy, hateful.
Read it again. It said, in what? Lying, living in what?
Living in malice.
Living in malice. Go ahead.
And envy.
And envy. A lot of brothers live in malice and envy. Hatred. Come on.
Hateful.
Hateful.
And hating one another.
And hating one another. Some brothers move like this. But we're supposed to be without division. Have the same mind. You say, I'm an Israelite. You say, we got to keep the commandments. One wife. Wear your beard, wear your fringes, this and that. But meanwhile, you sitting in the corner eyeing the brother. I can't believe the brother think he that. Why this brother gotta walk like that? Why this brother do that? Meanwhile, you got that. I can't believe he ain't said it to him. He said, whatever thought is in your mind, whatever. You got that spirit, you gotta examine it. That's a hateful spirit. That's an evil spirit. Some brothers got this spirit. In the midst of us, some brothers got these spirits, and you have to pull it out of you. No division amongst us. This is how we're going to grow and unify as brothers. No division. Moving with the same mind, the same agenda, the same spirit. Just like we see our leadership, just like we've seen the apostles moving, right? Just like we've seen even the prophets of foretime hit the same moves. We got to have the same thing. Go ahead.
Verse 4. But after that, the kindness.
That's it. 1 John 3. 1 John chapter 3. Verse 15.
1 John chapter 3 and verse 15.
Come on.
Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer.
You have to see this. You hate your brother, you are a murderer. You hate your brother, you are a murderer. And we know what murderers don't get. They don't get the kingdom. They don't get it. It doesn't make sense for you to get the kingdom and you're not. If you don't love your brother, you don't love Christ. Because Christ was in your brother. You don't love the mission at hand that was set forth for us to continue. Go ahead.
And ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him.
And no murder have eternal life abiding in him. Guess what's going to happen to the murderer? Revelations 21. Those that's hateful. Let's make it plain. Let's make it simple. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 21 and verse 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and the abominable.
Those that's fearful and unbelieving and the abominable, read.
And murderers.
And what?
And murderers.
Those that hate their brother. Whether it's secretly or outwardly, whatever you want to say. You hate your brother, you're a murderer. And guess what? Read on.
And whoremongers. And sorcerers. And idolaters. And all liars shall have their part in the lake which burneth with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
You gonna burn forever. You gonna burn forever. You have to see this. So you got that spirit on you. The best thing to do is to purge it out. Deal with your brother. Matthew 18, whatever you got to do to squash that stupid beef. Squash it. Because you did it to your friend in the world that's not in the truth now. He don't believe in God. He don't believe. He whoring women out right now. You was close to him. You would forgive him easily. But a man of God, it's like it's hard. It's gnashing at the teeth. It's like, it's like scratching the damn chalkboard. You know this that sounds like, it's hard. It's not hard. But when you prideful, when you believe that you ain't got hate and you really got it, whatever thoughts you may have that's stopping you from going to your brother, then you got to examine that thing. You got to fix it. You have to fix it, all right? Let's go to Jude. But this is a lot of time, this is what happens, though. It's a spirit on you. What kind of spirit? Read that, verse 19.
Jude, verse 19. These be they who separate themselves.
Because what happens is you got that hate for your brother. You're supposed to move with no division, with have one mind, but you end up having hate for your brother. You start separating yourself. You'll see that. Brother don't go to camp. Brothers, you always got something you doing, right? And granted, maybe some brothers working. I ain't talking about you, but you know who you are. You know what you deal with. You know what you battle inside, what hatred you got. Or maybe you around that brother, but spiritually you're not around him. You right there next to him, but spiritually it's like, we on two different pages right now. You're in no connection. You're not together. You ain't together. You divided. But what happens, read on?
Sensual.
They what?
Sensual.
You become emotional. Weak. Read on.
Having not the spirit.
You are out of the spirit. You don't have the spirit. You can't say you on the same page as us, as your brother, if you hate your brother. If you're emotional. You can't be on the same page. That's not brotherly love. That's not having that love for your brother at all. Go to 2nd Ezra. 2nd Ezra. This is what you got to put off, bro. 14, verse 13. I think.
2nd Ezra, chapter 14 and verse 13.
14.
Verse 14. Let go from thee mortal thoughts. Cast away the burdens of men.
You know what that is? That's that sin that's burning in you. You need to cast that off. That's why you got sin in the midst of you. Purge it out. You can't seem to get it. You can't seem to be around your brothers when you need to, or you'll show up late to classes. Purge it out. Put off that burden, that whatever that is, whatever sin that you're dealing with, put it off. What is that? Go ahead.
Put off now the weak nature.
Because that's a weak spirit. It's a weak spirit. We are principal with God. We ain't supposed to be weak. We're not supposed to have fear in us. We ain't supposed to be faint-hearted. We supposed to be strong. That's strength. The Lord is our tower. our defense. You're supposed to lean on God. Follow the steps of Christ. His spirit is dwelling in the prophets, the men that you see amongst you. And the ones that he is not dwelling in, they went and committed some super sin and they not in the body. Or they may be in the midst and they fall into the wayside. They showing up late. They not really around. They distracted with everything else around them versus pushing this truth. Or being around the brothers, building that bond. Because when it come to it, and we get to the wilderness, we going to want brothers then. You going to want your brother. Oh, this brother, I forgot this brother knew how to do this. Oh, this brother learned this crowd right on time. But then you hated that brother. You might not make it. If you do and you still, look, judgment. So we got to examine these things. You must put off that weak nature. That's that burden on you, that sin on you. Put it off. Cast it away. All right. Last few scriptures, Israel. 1 Corinthians 3. 1 Corinthians 3. 3. My bad.
1 Corinthians chapter 3 and verse 3. For ye are yet carnal. For whereas there is among you envying and strife.
There's some carnal people that's envy and strife amongst us. We seen it where brothers argue with brothers. Brothers will argue with rank brothers. Like, bro, why you showing up late, bro? Why you dealing like this, bro? What's up with you? Go ahead.
And divisions. Are ye not carnal?
And what?
And divisions.
And divisions. And we'll see divisions amongst us. Go ahead.
Are ye not carnal and walk as men?
You moving like a man in the world. You carnal right now. Because we go and try to meet with men in the world, pastors in the world, and they don't want to unify. You just like them. We try to use the Bible. You don't want us to use the Bible. You want us to just talk. You just like them. You carnal. You got division. That's a weak spirit. That's a weak spirit. It's hate built up in you. You ain't sure. That's not love. That's not love for the brethren. That's not the unification that we need to get the hell out of here. To help push this. We got to examine this. All right, let's go. Drop that. Romans 12. Romans 12, verse 9.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 9.
Come on.
Let love be without dissimulation.
You have to have this. Oh, that's a word right there. That's why we got the definition. It's okay, Israel. It's okay. We got the definition. Let's pull it up. So that love that you got to have for your brethren, come on. It's got to be without dissimulation.
Dissimulation. Concealment of one's thoughts, feelings, or character. Pretense.
Read. Keep reading some synonyms.
Synonyms. Pretense. Dissembling. Misrepresentation.
So, and this is important here, and this is another topic. How the misrepresentation. Like you see the brother, his representative in front of everybody is I'm good. We love shalom, bro. Backside though, he fake as hell. On the other end, he fake. Sisters deal with this a lot. We see this a lot. But brothers starting to creep up like they emotional damage or something. This is crazy right here. We see the dissimulation. Read on.
Deceit. Dishonesty.
Deceitful brothers. It says, read it again. Let what? Verse 9, come on.
Romans chapter 12 and verse 9. Let love be without dissimulation.
Let your love be without deceit. Guile. Lying. What does it say?
Dishonesty.
Dishonesty. Let your love be without dishonesty. Don't be dishonest. Because something happened and you so fake or whatever, you can't even just say what happened. And it probably wasn't nothing. I didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. But you let it boil up in you and you become like Saul. You become like all these other, you have a whole evil spirit on you now. An evil angel has came and touched you. You've been touched by a demon. That's what you've been touched by. You just allow it to manifest and stay in you. Let love be without dissimulation. It says faking, double dealing. You can't have this spirit. We're going to unify, brothers. We can't roll like this. Finish out, please.
Abhor that which is evil.
Oh, it says hate that which is evil. Go ahead.
Cleave to that which is good.
That's what we're supposed to do. Cleave to that which is good. Guess what? The Bible is good. The men that's pushing the Bible, they're good. They're keeping the laws. Cleave to that. Not to what's in you. What's the evil that's in you. It's not done you right. It's not going to do you right. Not what your mama say because you told your mama the story. Or excuse me, your dad or your uncle or your brother in the world or your homeboy you still deal with. Or maybe your coworker. Some brothers like to talk to their coworkers. I don't know. Because you known him for 5, 6, 7 years. You want to talk to him. Listen, that's how he ain't got the balls to come in the truth. He ain't about this. Cleave to the Bible. Cleave here to the Spirit. Go ahead.
Verse 10. Be kindly affectioned one to another.
This is what we have to learn. This is what we have to do to build that, to have that one mind, right? To have that one mind, the unification that we need. No division. We have to have this. Come on.
With brotherly love.
With brotherly love. Read.
And honor. Preferring one another.
That's what we have to prefer. We'll learn to prefer one another. I want to be around my brothers. Though some things may hinder you, okay, we get that. But guess what? Your desire should be like, hey, I want to be around the brothers that's going to show me the scriptures, that's going to build me. That's what I want. Because they know and they understand just like me. Verse 1 said that it was my reasonable service to give my life for this truth. They understand it. They on the same mission. I got to be on the same mission. I got to have the same mind. That's how we have to move. All right, let's go. Sirach 28. No fake love. Love without dissimulation. We got to see that. Sirach chapter 28, verse 3.
Sirach chapter 28 and verse 3. One man beareth hatred against another. And doth he seek pardon from the Lord?
Listen, you're going to bear hatred for one another and you think you're going to get pardon from the Lord? You're going to seek pardon from the Lord? How does that make sense? You hate your brother. You got murder in you. That's a song too, ain't it? Murder on my mind. You must be listening to that song. You got murder on your mind, but you want pardon from God. It don't work like that. It doesn't add up. And you think it's murder. It is what it is. You hate your brother, you murder because you'll do anything. Behind closed doors, if it was just you and him, and it was an opportunity to get this money or get this, you taking that. You gotta see it. Is that it? Yeah, that's it. I think I want verse 5. Let me see. What verse 5 say?
Verse 5. If he that is but flesh nourisheth hatred, who will entreat for pardon of his sin?
You nourishing that hatred, who gonna treat pardon for your sin? Who? The brother that you hate? Come on now, dog. Listen, the only person that pardons is God. And you hate your brother. You got hatred in you. It don't make sense. It don't add up. All right? Titus chapter 3. Let's go back to Titus chapter 3. Let's read verse 1 and verse 2. We'll finish out right here, Israel. Titus chapter 3, verse 1.
Titus chapter 3 and verse 1. Mm-hmm. Put them in mind to be subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work.
We must be ready to every good work, right? The leadership that's set in front of us. Follow the things, the good works. Come on.
To speak evil of no man.
This is what we got to know. This is what we got to have. So we won't have that division. So we can be unified with one mind. Speak evil of no man.
To be no brawlers.
To be no brawlers, read.
But gentle.
Be gentle.
Showing all meekness unto all men.
Humble yourself to all your brothers. Whatever rank, whatever stature, humble yourself to all men. That's what we got to roll like. That's how we can unify. We all got the same humble spirit. We like, damn, brother, humble, I'm humble. We all doing this. We all having a meek spirit. We all understand the goal at hand. We going to be good. But we got to follow this process. We got to speak no evil against a man. Not a brawler, not showing hatred to our brothers. All right, Israel, we got to examine these things.
What is a nation? Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is men leading by example. Nation is women's support. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is